Well, hello and welcome back to Red Fox Classics and the 1969 Mk2 GT6. Now, I've had some panels blasted, so we've got a hatch and a spare windscreen frame that needs some repair. So these are only some fairly minor things, though the hatch might get a little bit complicated along the trailing edge, so see how we get on with that. I also had the windscreen frame off the GT6 blasted and it is pretty destroyed. So there might be another plan on that one, but we will see what happens. Anyway, got some of the simple repairs to do. So in between, while waiting for the Spitfire's engine results to come back, or go off in the first place, let's do a bit more metalwork. So we've got this bit, which it's not too bad. I'm not sure whether I will just replace it with a thicker bit or put back the two layers. I have to see what it starts turning out like once we cut a little bit of this away. There's also tiniest little pinholes there and a couple here, and then all along this lip there's obviously bubbled up a bit and got a bit of rust in between. So what I want to do, possibly a bit there too, what I want to do hopefully is try and peel this lip back and make sure we're all clean underneath, possibly cut out a bit of this inner frame and replace along that edge, and then fold the lip back over. Now, it should go like a door skin. Anyway, problem is, how do we get this open? I think I've seen someone write about an idea, which I'm going to try and make. I think first of all, let's deal with this little corner. Okay, so I've been having a look at this, and there's actually quite a lot of, well, not quite a lot of, but there's rust in this seam, so this is bulging out. And that extends all along here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on this side, cut from about there to, well, there to here maybe. And on the other side, I only need to take this little bit out. So I'm going to do two parts. Well, it's going to be several things. I just have to sort of piece them in. But I'll get with the spot welds here and try and trim along that. I don't want to get too close to the corner because that's going to be more awkward to grind. But if I can get that bit off and then get up into this curve, I can then make the front bit and then put the back bit on afterwards. Because if I'd just been able to do that little corner, I might have just put a thicker piece of steel in and just welded it on, rather than have the sandwich. But given they can be quite different shapes, I think it's more sensible to do this approach. So of course, the job turning into a slightly larger one than anticipated, because that's how it works. Okay, so you see I got that trimmed out, and I'm just taking this outside and giving it a bit of a spot blast, and then come back with the hammer and dolly and cleaned up. Well, actually, no, I feel it, that's still a bit bent. But I'll flatten out that bit again. I'll flatten out that bit in the first place. And then I'm just going to stick a little strip of metal in here. I'm not going to worry about it overhanging because I'll just grind it down to the edge of the existing bit. And then I'll do the same up here, but obviously I can use quite a straight bit here and I'll need to cut something out of curve there. So 2 bits will be easiest. I got a bit too close to the edge. I wasn't intending to do that, but whatever, too late now. So I got that primed and that primed. I also made a curved bit to fit in there. And while this has been drying, I had a delivery. Now, the original windscreen frame was really pretty destroyed by the time it came back from being blasted. I mean, I kind of suspected this was the case, but it's not unfixable, but it would have taken a very, very long time, and I would have been quite concerned about this shape underneath, because that's got to sit on the seal and, you know, be correct enough that it is going to seal and sit and, you know, hold the whole car together. So when this came up, which was expensive, but is a panel from a California car, which has made its way back to the UK, and it just fits. So I think that was the best choice. So while that's drying, I've also got this third windscreen frame, which is a Spitfire one, to fix. Because one of my thoughts was, you know, using this to cut up and fix the GT6 one. But now I don't have to do that, and, you know, I've got to fix this up and sell it on to someone who needs a Spitfire screen. Because this is actually, I thought it was must have been a Mark 1 one, but it looks like it had gutters and they've been removed. So it's probably a Mark 2 one. Mid-range Mark, well no, late Mark 2, because then they got the gutters and the screen didn't change again until the Mark 3. Yeah, this must be late Mark 2, because the Mark 3 would have had the hood catches. However, this has got the remains of a tab for the hood, and also, where was it? Yeah, this hole here. Same on the other side. That's for the popper for holding the front of the Mark II hood down. Anyway, there's a little bit to fix, but it's not too much work, so I'm going to do that. There's a bit under here as well, and get that done too. So that's almost ready to go in, except for I had to add a little bit in there because my 2 bits of scrap ended up being too short. I've cut this out of this Spitfire screen. I want that to go in there. It's got a bit of rust converter in because I can't really get down right in the gaps. But then I'll get that weld through primed, that weld through primed, that welded, that welded. Okay, so I got that bit of windscreen frame in, and I make this face now, which is, you know, well, I'm going to cut a bit further up because you can see it's a bit of one here. It's going to be like that sort of shape, and then extending down into just to make up that little corner. I think there's also some little pinholes in here. Can't even see where I'm looking. So there's that there, so I need to take a little chunk out of that bottom, but that's easy enough. Same sort of, a little less damage on the other side, much less damage, but same sort of area. Because obviously water comes in and sort of sits at the bottom here, doesn't come out. Got that welded up. It's going to take some grinding, but whatever. And now I'm going to flip this over and make the other side of here, so I can weld everything all together and then we're done. Right, so I've got that little corner in, done both sides. So obviously all this needs grinding quite carefully, so we're going to be able to get the nice finish so that the seal's going to rest against. And then well, before I cut this off, I traced myself a little template on cardboard, so I'm just going to be able to then grind that back so it's the right profile. Spare windscreen frame, I've got this bit welded in. I just need to fill in this little corner and then cut it back and grind it and all that. I think I'm going to grind most things down and then get the spot welder out just to pinch those bits together and obviously remake. I probably don't need it a great deal because obviously these welds will have penetrated, but we're just going on here. Pinch those in with the spot welder and then that bit will be finished, and there's still the stuff underneath the hatch to have a look at, and of course a couple more little repairs under there and over there. So I've got that little corner in. I've knocked the tops off of these, but grinding this, I need to find some way to put the windscreen frame in a slightly less awkward position. That done, that's nice. A couple of touch-ups. And all of that done as well. And then maybe a bit more. Little bit of touch-up weld needs doing there. Anyway, I'll get that, well, to get the spot welder out, I think. And I've got that trimmed out. Okay, so I had the spot welder out and did all this lot. I was using the sort of extendy jaws, so they're always a bit of a pain, so I had to convert some of these to blood welds. But that's fine, but that's now ground, welded together, tightened up. I'm just going to try here and see if these pinholes will weld up, rather than start cutting holes. We'll just see how thin the metal really is, because either it'll work or it'll just blow holes, in which case we need to cut a bigger hole. Same on here, that's welded up. Spot welded, tied up inside and out. Cut out that little bit. We've got a tiny little patch to go in there. Same over here. And we've got that hole to fill in as well. And then that's that windscreen frame done. I might make a little might make that little hook as well, just to finish it off over here. And then the interesting bit. So what I want to do here is try and peel this lip back. Obviously I could chop it off and then weld back on, but I'd like to try and keep this edge is, a lovely smooth curve. So I don't want to go anywhere near that unless I have to. So if I peel back this lip, I can hopefully cut away the part of the the inner door, inner hatch, and replace that. And then I'm going to have to, I'm sure, replace some of this lip. But yeah, we'll just see how it looks when it's opened up. And to do that, I think I'm going to take a pair of vice grips, and so I have a vice grip jaws like that. And put weld flat bit to one edge, and then grind myself a bit of steel into like a sharp wedge shape. So I'll be able to squeeze the two together, and that will go under the lip and push it up slightly. Just be able to work along and do that. So I'll find my least favourite pair of vice grips to sacrifice and see what happens. Right, so this is all done. Got a little repair in the corner. Found, of course, there was a tiny bit needed on there as well. And just by the bottom of that leg. That's now done. I'm going to chuck a bit of primer on those bits that I've exposed, and then that can go and get stashed away. On the hatch I was able to wear up a little bit, and I thought I'd got this one, but when I ground it back, it's still a hole. And then I've got to get on with making my tool, as I've been saying. Right, so I got my scrap vice grips. I wouldn't have chosen this style if I was choosing them to make this tool, but these are ones where this thread is stripped and the adjuster doesn't really go in there very well. So I can always just weld that on if I find I need to. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make myself, cut myself a plate. You know, it's a little rectangle, a little flat rectangle. And I'm also going to shape a bit of this into a wedge. So let's get on with it. Right, so it doesn't actually fit here, so I'm going to have to make some adjustments, but it will go here, so let's see how we get on. Okay, so that is slowly coming up. Enough that I think this is probably worth modifying, so I think I'll do something like, I'll probably cut it here and then basically move that arm round so we get more like a diagonal across there rather than the original loop. But I'm going to have to play with that and see what I can come up with. Okay, so that's what I've done. Welded 2 strips along the side and then cut the top off. It looks kind of Mad Max, I guess, but it does fit now in that space. I'm going to let that cool down, And then I'm going to have a go along here and see if I can open that lip up. Alright, that's going to take ages, but let's see what happens when we speed it up. If it looks amusing. Right, so I've gone along here many times. I managed to pull it up enough that I can get a look inside. Had to add a nut to the end of the tool to stop it from pulling through its threads. Anyway, that seems to have worked. I can just about see in here, and it doesn't really look that bad. And I think the reason that's rusty is more because you're clearly going to get water sat in this lip, and then the end of the tailgate is sat in this lip, little hatch. So I think rather than it being water getting inside, like with the doors and sitting at the bottom and rotting the door out, I think it's more that. So I'm wondering what to do. I mean, I can just stick the spot blaster down this corner, get rid of all that rust, put it back again. I might want to do a little bit of weld touch up just to fill in some of these holes. But I'm wondering whether, because my original plan, I'm wondering whether I still do this, is just cut out, run the grinder along here, take out this intersection, and then that'll let me look inside. But it also, it put a whole long weld seam along here, which would be quite difficult to finish nicely. And obviously, if I'm right as to how this has rusted in the first place, which seems likely, then is there any need? So I just don't know. And I don't think I can get this any further up safely. And I could, of course, try and take the whole skin off. I can't, because it's lip there, it's welded there. So no way I'm trying to do that. It can't have been that full of water either, because if you can we see in here? Just about. You can see fresh metal. So it can't have been that full of water, at least up here. And it feels pretty clean in there from where I can get my hand into. Maybe I'll give blasting a go and just see how clean it looks like and get it. So that's not worked terribly, but also not terribly well. And it's quite pitted, so I think I'm gonna cut a stripe out. I think it might be doable if you had, proper equipment. But anyway, and I think I'm gonna need to replace a reasonable amount of this lip anyway, because it's pitted and thin as well. So let's get out the angle grinder. So I've tried to give myself a nice bit of clearance away from this lip. This lip where the inner panel raises up a little bit. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, so there's quite a lot of rust under there. Alright, so that's all rammed full of rust eater, so I'll let it do its work. But it does seem to have been the right decision, because that was going to go through the outer face in, well, maybe not immediately, but in the not too distant future. Alright, so I've spent quite some time cleaning this up. I had some rust remover in it which didn't really do enough, or didn't do that anywhere near enough, so I've had all sorts of selection of things going on to try and get it clean, and I've actually just spent the past, I don't know, 45 minutes outside with a little blaster, sticking it deep in here and getting everything out and everything clean. Anyway, that's the bit that came out, but it's actually got somewhat distorted and being removed. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two halves. This half, the shape is already, I can just use the half of this as a pattern. This half's going to be a bit more difficult, but once I've cut this bit in half, I think maybe most of this will still be usable. Anyway, let's get that bit cut and get that in, and then it's all be finished. Alright, so that's my mostly unbent bit on the left. So I'm just going to knock some of the burrs, or the flash, it's not flash, that's a plastic term, isn't it? Anyway, whatever. The remains of the cut off with a file. So I'm going to try and get that bit cut out and fitted in, and then I might try and reshape this actually to fit better and use as a template. Because I think if I stick it in the shrinker about there, just tweak it a little bit, it'll probably go back. Okay, got me two bits. Fitting alright. So, chuck some primer in, get them welded. I imagine this grinding this in here is going to be a bit of a pain, but we'll get it done. Then I'll get this folded back over, and I think I might, so I'll fold it back over and then I might replace some of it in situ. But I'm not going to try and weld it, you know, and then bend it, because otherwise I'd have to try and grind it inside and all that. This is basically going to result in all this lot being welded together as well, which is not my ideal, but there's no other way around other than trying to take the whole skin off the hatch, and I'm not doing that. So, while waiting for paint to dry there, I've hopefully knocked myself up a valve guide removal tool, which is still hot. So I took one of the Herald's old valves and old valve guides, welded them together, cut the end off, and then I've just stuck it in the drill and taken this diameter down with the grinder. So now hopefully that's going to let me push out the old guide. So let's see if it works. Yep. Okay, well I'll do the rest. I've got that ground primed. I mean, the grinding is not great, I don't think, but I've hit the bit I don't want to a couple of times, and I think I'm going to leave it, and it can be filled, and it'll be fine, because who's looking? Yeah, so I'm just going to try and fold this edge down, and we'll see what it looks like after that. I think I'm leaning towards just doing a couple of little touch-ups rather than cutting bits of this off, because I got it quite clean on the inside, and the less I cut away the better, I think. Right, I think that is looking alright, and the more I think about it, the less I want to weld it. At all. I'm going to leave that as is, because, you know, if I start trying to weld here, it's going to be quite thin. I don't think it's too thin for what it's doing, but it's going to burn away the edge, and I'm going to have to try and grind that in. If I cut a strip out here, it'll make more of a mess, I think, so I'm just going to weld up these little two corners and call it done. So there we go, that is the hatch all done. It wasn't a huge job, but it was one that needed checking off the list. I think, feeling it, I'm probably going to have to run the DA over the outside, because there's a little bit of the weld gone through. And it's just a little, you know, there's going to be a couple of tiny little lumps. So that's where we're going to wrap this one up. We've fixed the spare Spitfire Mark 1 or Mark 2 windscreen frame. So if you're in need of one of those, get in touch, because that is now for sale in order to, you know, fund more of this. I'll get it on eBay shortly. Got the hatch fixed for GT6, so that's one more panel we don't need to worry about anymore. And I'm expecting to receive my modified gearbox main shaft back, hopefully within the next couple of days. so my intention is to build that up as my next job, but we will see what happens. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. If you have got this far and you're not yet subscribed, please consider hitting that button, because it doesn't cost you anything and it helps me out. If you want to support the channel in another way, we do have some stickers available to decorate a toolbox or other hard surface, and there's also window stickers to go in perhaps the front of a classic car, maybe. Anyway, thanks everyone who already is subscribed, thanks everyone who's coming back regardless, and I will see you next time.